Kelly Cohan was the kind of person everyone admired for her resilience and determination. At 34 years old, she lived in San Francisco, a vibrant city she had called home for most of her life. Kelly wasn't just another face in the crowd. She was an independent and hardworking woman who had built a successful career for herself despite life's challenges. Her story, however, wasn't without its fair share of struggles. Kelly grew up in a loving home as the only child of her parents, Dr. William Cohan and Margaret Cohan. Both were well-respected doctors who ran a private clinic in the heart of the city. From a young age, Kelly was surrounded by conversations about medicine and helping others, which deeply influenced her outlook on life. While her parents hoped she'd follow in their footsteps, Kelly chose a different path. After completing her degree in computer science, she landed a job in a top tech firm. Over the years, her skills and dedication earned her promotions, and she soon became a team lead, managing complex projects and leading a talented team of developers. Despite her professional success, Kelly remained grounded. Her father always taught her to value relationships over achievements. Growing up, her family wasn't just her support system. They were her whole world. Kelly's bond with her father was especially strong, as he often shared life lessons over quiet evening walks or long car rides. Her mother, on the other hand, was her source of emotional strength, always encouraging her to push boundaries and chase her dreams. However, life took a heartbreaking turn when Kelly lost her mother in a tragic car accident during her mid-20s. The sudden loss left both Kelly and her father devastated. For a long time, their once lively home felt empty. But instead of letting grief consume her, Kelly found solace in her work and leaned on her father for support. Together, they navigated the difficult times, drawing strength from each other. Years later, just as Kelly thought life was settling into a steady rhythm, tragedy struck again. Her father, who had been her rock through everything, was diagnosed with terminal cancer. The news shattered Kelly's world. Watching her father, once so full of life, gradually grow weaker was a painful experience. But true to her nature, Kelly refused to let her emotions paralyze her. She spent every possible moment with her father, cherishing their time together and ensuring he felt loved and cared for. Through all the highs and lows, Kelly remained a fighter. She was a woman of determination, compassion, and strength, qualities that would soon be tested in ways she could never have imagined. Kelly met Jack Turner during one of the darkest periods of her life. It was shortly after her mother's sudden death, and the weight of grief felt unbearable. At the time, Kelly wasn't looking for companionship. She was simply trying to hold herself together while supporting her father. But fate had other plans. Jack was introduced to Kelly through a mutual friend during a casual dinner, and his easygoing nature instantly made her feel at ease. Jack had a knack for making people laugh, and his calm demeanor provided a stark contrast to the chaos in Kelly's mind. He didn't shy away from her grief or try to brush it aside. Instead, he listened patiently as she shared stories about her mother and the loss she was struggling to process. Jack often said, "You don't need to go through this alone, Kelly," and over time, his words began to feel like a promise. Their relationship grew naturally. Jack became a steady presence in her life, offering support when she needed it most. He brought her coffee on stressful mornings, encouraged her to take breaks from work, and even helped her father with errands when Kelly was overwhelmed. His kindness wasn't just directed at her, it extended to her family, which meant the world to Kelly. As their bond deepened, milestones in their relationship came and went like chapters in a well-written book. 2 years after meeting, Jack proposed to Kelly during a quiet picnic in Golden Gate Park. It wasn't a grand gesture with a crowd or fireworks, but it was perfect for them. Simple, heartfelt, and genuine. Kelly said yes without hesitation, believing she had found someone who would stand by her through anything. Her father, still grieving the loss of his wife, was overjoyed to see his daughter finding happiness again. However, not everything about their journey was smooth. When Kelly met Jack's mother for the first time, she couldn't ignore the nagging sense of unease. Mina Turner was a striking woman with sharp features and an even sharper tongue. Divorced from Jack's father, She carried herself with the confidence of someone who always got what she wanted. But her words often felt like daggers cloaked in silk. "So, this is Kelly," Mina had said during their first meeting, her eyes scanning Kelly from head to toe. "You're a little older than I expected for Jack, aren't you? But I suppose brains make up for looks in some cases." Kelly was stunned by the comment, but chose to remain polite, determined to make a good impression. Jack quickly stepped in to defend her, mentioning Kelly's career achievements and her family's respected background. While Mina's attitude softened after hearing about Kelly's financial stability, the exchange left Kelly feeling uneasy. It was clear that Mina's approval came with strings attached. Despite this rocky start, Kelly chose to focus on her future with Jack, hoping that any tensions with his mother would ease over time. What she didn't realize was that this was only the beginning of a much larger challenge. Kelly and Jack's married life began on a high note. They moved into a beautiful apartment in San Francisco that Kelly's father had gifted them as a wedding present. It was modern, spacious, and filled with possibilities for a happy future. Kelly dreamed of creating a warm, loving home where they could build their life together. In the beginning, everything seemed promising. Jack would occasionally surprise Kelly with small gestures, like bringing flowers or planning a casual date night, which made her believe they were settling into a perfect partnership. However, as the honeymoon phase began to fade, Kelly noticed cracks in their life together. While she juggled a demanding job in tech and household responsibilities, Jack's carefree attitude toward their new life started becoming more apparent. Before their marriage, Jack had always appeared supportive and kind. But after moving in together, Kelly realized he had little experience with basic household responsibilities. Jack didn't know how to cook, operate the washing machine, or even keep their home tidy. "I've never been good at these things," he'd shrug when Kelly asked for help. At first, Kelly took on the chores, thinking it was temporary. "He'll adjust to married life," she told herself. But Jack showed no interest in learning or sharing the workload. Instead, he left garbage lying around, ignored chores, and acted as though Kelly's efforts were just part of her role as his wife. Whenever she brought it up, Jack brushed her concerns aside with a casual, "You're better at it than I am, so why not just handle it?" What hurt Kelly the most wasn't the chores, it was Jack's indifference. He seemed to believe that his job was the only contribution he needed to make to their marriage, while Kelly carried the weight of both work and home. Over time, her exhaustion and frustration grew. Adding to the strain was Jack's mother, Mina. She was a frequent visitor to their home, often arriving unannounced and criticizing Kelly's efforts to create a peaceful space. "This apartment is nice, but you could decorate it better," Mina would comment while inspecting the furniture. Kelly tried to keep the peace, going out of her way to make Mina feel welcome. She sent her thoughtful gifts for birthdays and Mother's Day, hoping to win her approval. But Mina found fault in everything. One year, Kelly gifted her a high-quality scarf, only to hear Mina complain, "This isn't from a luxury brand. Couldn't you have picked something better?" Worse, Mina constantly asked Jack for money, claiming she needed it for emergencies or new expenses. Jack never hesitated to hand over cash, even when it stretched their own finances thin. "It's my mom. I can't say no," he'd tell Kelly whenever she protested. Jack's generosity toward his mother and his lack of financial planning soon began to take a toll. Though Kelly earned a good salary, Jack's spending habits were reckless. He often splurged on unnecessary items, justifying it with, "What's the point of working hard if we can't enjoy ourselves?" To make matters worse, Jack started using their joint credit card for extravagant purchases without consulting Kelly. New gadgets, expensive dinners, and even gifts for his mother all began to pile up on their account. Kelly's attempts to set a budget or talk about their expenses were met with resistance. "You're overthinking it," Jack would say. "We'll figure it out." As their savings dwindled, Kelly felt the pressure mounting. She had worked hard to build a stable life, and now it felt like everything was slipping through her fingers. Between Jack's careless behavior, Mina's constant demands, and her own workload, Kelly began to feel trapped in a marriage that was nothing like the partnership she had envisioned. One evening, Kelly received a phone call that would change her life forever. Her father, Dr. William Cohan, whom she hadn't seen in a few weeks due to her busy schedule, asked to meet her in person. When they sat down together at a quiet cafe, she noticed an unusual heaviness in his demeanor. After a long pause, her father gently broke the news. He had been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and treatment was no longer an option. The words hit Kelly like a thunderbolt. Tears welled up in her eyes as she struggled to process what she had just heard. "No, Dad, there must be something we can do," she said, her voice shaking. But her father, always calm and pragmatic, held her hand and said, "Kelly, this is just how life works sometimes. Let's not focus on what we can't change. Let's make the most of the time we have left." Despite his attempt to comfort her, Kelly couldn't contain her grief. Losing her mother years earlier had been devastating, and the thought of losing her father too felt unbearable. But she knew she had to stay strong for him. From that moment on, Kelly's life became a delicate balancing act. She started visiting her father almost every day, spending time at his bedside in the hospital and managing his care. As the illness progressed, she took on more responsibilities, handling his medical appointments, managing his bills, and ensuring he was as comfortable as possible. At the same time, Kelly was already overwhelmed with work and the endless household responsibilities she had been carrying on her own. Sleep became a luxury as she juggled everything, often staying up late into the night to complete tasks she didn't have time for during the day. Despite her exhaustion, Kelly never complained. "Dad was there for me through everything," she told herself. "The least I can do is be there for him now." Her father, even in his declining health, noticed the toll it was taking on her. One day, during one of her hospital visits, he asked her, "Kelly, how is everything at home? How's your marriage with Jack?" Kelly hesitated. She didn't want to burden her father with her marital troubles, but her silence spoke volumes. Her father gave her hand a reassuring squeeze and said, "You don't have to endure anything that makes you unhappy. You deserve better, Kelly. Don't ever forget that." Those words stayed with her, becoming a source of quiet strength during the storm. Amid all this, Jack's reaction to her father's illness was starkly indifferent. When Kelly told him about the diagnosis, he responded with a half-hearted, "That's tough. I hope you're holding up okay." There were no offers of help, no comforting words, and no genuine concern. Instead, Jack continued with his routine as if nothing had changed. Kelly pleaded with him to at least visit her father in the hospital, but Jack showed up only once, and even then, he spent most of the time scrolling through his phone. "I've got a lot on my plate too, Kelly," he'd say whenever she asked for his support. His mother, Mina, was no better. Instead of offering condolences or help, she made insensitive remarks like, "Well, at least he's had a good run." The lack of empathy from Jack and his mother cut Kelly deeply. She felt isolated, as though the weight of the world was on her shoulders, with no one to share it with. The man she had once believed would be her rock in times of need was proving to be anything but. Through it all, Kelly kept going, fueled by her love for her father and a quiet determination to honor his strength and legacy. Even as her own world began to crumble, she vowed to make his remaining days as peaceful as possible. The inevitable moment came one quiet afternoon. Kelly had been sitting by her father's bedside at the hospital, holding his hand, when his breathing slowed and finally stopped. For a few seconds, the world seemed to stand still. Kelly stared at him, unable to comprehend that the man who had been her rock, her guide, and her biggest supporter was gone. Tears streamed down her face as the weight of the loss hit her. Yet, amidst the overwhelming sorrow, she found a small comfort in knowing that she had been there for him until the very end. Dr. William Cohan had faced his illness with dignity and courage, and Kelly vowed to honor his memory by living a life he would be proud of. The days that followed were a whirlwind of funeral arrangements and condolences. Friends, family, and former patients of her father gathered to pay their respects, sharing stories about the incredible impact he had on their lives. It was a heartfelt farewell to a man who had touched so many. However, in the midst of the grief, Kelly felt an undeniable loneliness. Jack and Mina attended the funeral, but their presence was detached and superficial. Jack didn't lift a finger to help with the arrangements, and Mina seemed more concerned with appearances than offering genuine support. A week after the funeral, Kelly received a call from her father's lawyer, Mr. Jenkins, requesting a meeting to discuss her father's estate. Still emotionally drained, Kelly attended the meeting, expecting to handle a few formalities. What she didn't anticipate was the sheer scale of what her father had left behind. Mr. Jenkins explained that her father had been not only a successful doctor, but also a savvy investor in real estate. After settling all taxes and liabilities, the remaining estate was worth over $3 million. In addition to this financial legacy, her father had left her ownership of the private healthcare business he had built and cherished. As his only child, Kelly was the sole beneficiary of the inheritance. Kelly sat in stunned silence as the lawyer detailed the assets and investments her father had meticulously managed. She had always known him to be a man of principles and hard work, but she hadn't realized just how much he had accomplished. Along with the wealth came a heartfelt letter her father had written to her, urging her to use the inheritance wisely and to follow her own happiness. Kelly, the letter read, "This is my gift to you, a way to ensure that you never have to compromise on your dreams. You have always made me proud, and I know you'll make the right choices. Remember, your happiness matters most." As Kelly left the lawyer's office, a mix of emotions washed over her. She felt gratitude for her father's foresight and love, but also the heavy responsibility of honoring his wishes. She knew the inheritance would change her life, but she couldn't have predicted just how much turmoil it would soon bring. It didn't take long for Jack and Mina's true colors to surface after Kelly inherited her father's estate. Just days after learning about the $3 million inheritance, Jack began rifling through the legal documents Kelly had brought home from the lawyer's office, without her permission. When Kelly confronted him, Jack dismissed her concerns with a condescending tone. "Kelly, don't be so greedy," he said with a smirk. "This money isn't just yours. It's for us now. And Mom deserves a share too. After all, she's family." Mina chimed in with a self-satisfied laugh, her voice dripping with entitlement. "Finally, Jack. Now we can live the life we've always deserved." That old man did something right for a change. Kelly's heart sank. Hearing her late father referred to so disrespectfully felt like a slap in the face. The people who were supposed to support her during this difficult time were now treating her father's legacy as nothing more than a lottery ticket. Feeling cornered, Kelly struggled to find a way to handle the situation. Jack and Mina's demands became relentless. They pushed Kelly to transfer the inheritance into a joint account, insisting that they would manage the money together. Whenever she hesitated, Jack guilt-tripped her. "Don't you trust me, Kelly? What kind of marriage is this if we can't share everything?" Mina, on the other hand, wasn't shy about playing the victim. "After all I've done for this family, is it so wrong for me to expect a little comfort in my old age?" Overwhelmed and emotionally exhausted, Kelly felt she had no choice but to give in. She transferred a portion of her savings into their joint account to keep the peace. Despite her growing unease, she forced a smile and said, "Sure, use it as you see fit," all the while feeling trapped in her own home. The moment Jack and Mina gained access to the funds, their behavior shifted drastically. They began treating Kelly's inheritance as a never-ending supply of wealth. Jack quit his job, claiming, "Why bother working when we're sitting on millions?" Mina practically moved into their home, turning it into her personal base for endless shopping sprees and extravagant outings. The duo spent recklessly on luxury brand items, fine dining, and vacations. Mina often returned home with bags from high-end stores, bragging about her latest purchases. "The scarves Kelly used to give me were a joke compared to this," she exclaimed one evening, showing off a designer handbag she had bought with Kelly's money. Jack and Mina's spending spree wasn't limited to the inheritance. They also began withdrawing large sums from Kelly's hard-earned savings, including $100,000 from their joint account. Kelly watched in disbelief as the balance dwindled, powerless to stop them. When she confronted Jack about the reckless spending, he shrugged and laughed. "What's the big deal? The inheritance will cover it. Just relax and let us enjoy life for once." Kelly's frustration and anger grew, but Jack and Mina dismissed her concerns as if they were trivial. It was clear they had no intention of stopping, and Kelly began to realize that if she didn't take a stand soon, her father's legacy and her own financial stability would be completely destroyed. Kelly had reached her breaking point. Watching Jack and Mina recklessly spend her father's legacy, insult her late father, and deplete her hard-earned savings was more than she could tolerate. Quietly, she began to plan her next move. One morning, after Jack and Mina left for a lavish shopping spree, Kelly made her decision. She contacted a locksmith and had the locks on their apartment changed. She also opened a new account, transferring the remaining $50,000 from their joint account to her personal account to prevent further misuse. Then, she packed Jack and Mina's belongings into boxes and placed them near the front door. By the time they returned home, Kelly was ready. When they tried to enter the apartment, the keys no longer worked. Jack pounded on the door while Mina yelled, "Kelly, open up. What is the meaning of this?" Calmly, Kelly spoke through the intercom, "I've changed the locks. We'll talk, but not here. Meet me at the cafe around the corner." At the cafe, Jack and Mina arrived furious, their voices rising as they demanded an explanation. Kelly sat across from them, her demeanor calm but resolute. She placed a piece of paper on the table. It was a divorce petition. "I'm done, Jack," she said firmly. "This marriage is over. I've had enough of your greed, your disrespect, and your complete lack of support." Jack's face twisted in disbelief. "Divorce? You can't be serious. What about the money? What about everything we've built together?" Mina chimed in, her tone incredulous. "After everything we've done for you, Kelly? This is how you repay us." Kelly didn't flinch. "What you've done for me? All you've done is treat me like an ATM and insult my father's memory. This ends now. You're not getting another cent from me." Hearing this, Jack tried to regain control, his voice rising. "You think you can walk away and keep everything? The inheritance belongs to both of us. It's marital property, and I'll get my share in the divorce." Kelly leaned back, her confidence unwavering. "Actually, you're wrong, Jack. Inheritance isn't considered marital property. It's legally mine, and you're not entitled to any of it." Jack's smug expression quickly faded. "That can't be true. Mom, check this, she's lying." Mina fumbled with her phone, frantically searching for legal information. Her face went pale as she read the confirmation. "Property inherited by one spouse is considered separate property," Kelly added, quoting the law. "So no, you're not getting a penny from my father's estate." Jack's disbelief turned to desperation. "Kelly, please don't do this. I don't have a job, and I have no savings. How am I supposed to live?" Kelly looked at him, her voice steady but firm. "That's not my problem, Jack. You brought this on yourself. Take responsibility for your actions." For the first time, Jack and Mina seemed truly powerless. They sat in stunned silence as Kelly stood up, sliding the divorce papers across the table. "Sign the papers and stay out of my life," she said before walking away, leaving them to face the reality of their greed-fueled downfall. Jack and Mina's world came crashing down after Kelly's decisive action. Without access to Kelly's inheritance or her savings, they quickly found themselves in financial ruin. Jack, who had quit his job during their reckless spending spree, was left with no income. Meanwhile, the lavish purchases made with their joint credit card piled up into insurmountable debt. Creditors came knocking, and Jack and Mina struggled to make even minimum payments. Forced to downsize drastically, they moved into a small, run-down apartment on the outskirts of the city. Mina, once obsessed with her high society image, now worked as a cashier at a local supermarket. Jack, desperate to make ends meet, took on a string of odd jobs but struggled to hold any of them due to his entitled attitude and lack of skills. Their once extravagant lifestyle was now a distant memory, replaced by the harsh realities of debt and hard labor. The fallout didn't stop there. Jack's reputation among his social circle was destroyed after his greed and mistreatment of Kelly became known. His affair, which Kelly had discreetly exposed during the divorce proceedings, left him further ostracized. Mina, who had thrived on status and influence, was shunned by her socialite friends, who saw her as a liability. For Kelly, life began to take a brighter turn. With the inheritance securely in her hands, she made the choice to honor her father's memory by expanding his private healthcare business into a charitable foundation. The organization provided free and affordable medical care to underserved communities, a cause her father would have cherished. Kelly also sold the apartment she had once shared with Jack, finding solace in moving to her father's old countryside estate. There, she embraced a quieter, more peaceful lifestyle. The scenic surroundings gave her the mental space to heal and rebuild her life. Free from the toxic influence of Jack and Mina, Kelly thrived personally and professionally. She reconnected with old friends, made new ones, and even found time to pursue hobbies she had long neglected. Her work with the foundation became her passion, and she found deep fulfillment in knowing she was making a positive impact on others' lives. Reflecting on her journey, Kelly realized how far she had come. Her father's parting words, "Your happiness matters most," became her guiding principle. She vowed never to let anyone take advantage of her again, and to always prioritize her own well-being. Jack and Mina's downfall served as a stark reminder of what greed and entitlement could lead to, while Kelly's resilience and determination proved that, even in the face of betrayal, it's possible to reclaim your life and emerge stronger than ever. With her newfound independence and a future filled with purpose, Kelly felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. She was finally free to live the life she deserved, one filled with gratitude, strength, and the unwavering memory of her father's love.